just go ahead and jump into another science fiction fantasy. What is Dune? Dune just dropped on HBO Max and in theaters and in IMAX. And I guess I'll let Jason go ahead and kick this one off. What are your thoughts on Dune?
All right, I'm going to start off by definitively saying that I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to say that as a statement right now that I really, really, really enjoyed this movie.
Because,
but no, we don't need it because it's great. The visuals are great. Like, I love Oscar Isaac and anything that he does. He's awesome in it. Fucking Jason Momoa is, even in the scenes that he's in, the scant few scenes, he has this charisma to him that's always fun to watch.
Right.
I like this movie. Don't get me wrong. I really, really like this movie. I watched it again today. Okay.
But then,
all right. There are one major concern that I have, and then the rest is going to just be really nitpicky shit that I just like to pick for fun. The first thing is this movie should be a series, a prestige level TV series. Dune is just so big and so expansive, and that it needs more time. And this is kind of a long movie.
Mhm.
It needs more time to get really, really like get it going. And I feel like for me, like knowing, and I never read the book itself, but I know, like, I've seen both the David Lynch version as well as the miniseries they had on Sci-Fi some years ago, 20 years ago at this point. So I'm fairly familiar with the story, and there's just like, I feel like even though this movie is fucking long, I feel like they gloss over a lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of things are just like, here's a character, let's keep it moving. Here's another character, let's keep it moving, and we don't have enough time to really care about anything that isn't Timothy Chalamet's wispy Paul Atreides. So that's my only main gripe, is that I want, and that's probably a good gripe. It's like, I want to spend more time here. I want to be more immersed in this, and that's probably a good thing, that I want more, right? Now my nitpicky shit. And this is just superficial. This thing takes place in 20,000 years in the future. We don't need Timothy Chalamet. We could have, especially with Oscar Isaac as the as Duke Leto Atreides, we could have had a more diverse cast. And when I say this, is because, no, hold your fucking horses, Jaren.
Whole cast is diverse.
When I say this, because since the main character is Paul Atreides, who's kind of a Mary Sue, he is going to basically be the best Freeman warrior there's going to be. He's going to end up being the leader of the Freeman, which kind of skews to the whole white savior complex, right? And because don't roll your eyes, when you see this
These
a
eyes are so
thousand
rolling.
times, you're like, it's just like, he just doesn't work for me. And I think that we could have put, like, you have Oscar Isaac, you could have had, someone else that could be like, I don't know, they're fucking Hollywood actors. Pick one. I would even say Will and Jaden Smith, for crying out loud. Nah, that's bad. That would be terrible. Will Smith could probably do Duke, but not Jaden Smith. But when you get down to it, he's going to become, and especially with the Freeman, not as in the David Lynch being just a whole bunch of other white people, with the Freeman, I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong, being, a collected group of darker skinned people. I just don't want to see it Last Samurai, and he becomes the best of these native culture. It's like he becomes the best Indian in the Indian group as wispy French Timothy Chalamet. Right? But as I said, Jared, it's nitpicky. I get it. It's not that important to you.
Considering how incredibly white the entire cast of David Lynch's was.
Oh yeah. Considering, it's a step in the right direction.
A huge
I
step.
I need another step.
Chalamet and the girl are arguably the only white people outside of Batista, I guess, right?
No,
and
his
Batista's
Lady Jessica,
uncle.
his mother is white. Gurney, obviously played by what's his face?
Cable.
Yeah. Also, that's. I mean, I'm just saying it's just nitpicky. I'm saying it's nitpicky. But like, as I said, like, dude, it would be so cool to have this be like a full, like, as the main family, as the Atreides family, have a full like Hispanic cast.
I
Or
will
even
grant you that Charlemagne is the whitest whitey that's ever whited. But
yeah. And like, as much as I enjoyed this movie, it's just like he just needs to get a haircut and stop being. He could give like him and Adam Driver's fucking Kylo Ren can have a brooding stare off and brood off.
A brood off.
You know, you think Kylo Ren would
give
beat
him
him by
some run for his money in the brood off?
You think Kylo Ren would beat him by just with his thickness of his chest? Be like, I'm whiter
Yeah,
than you.
Adam Driver's a man's man, you know. But as I said, it's just a nitpicky thing. But like other than that, like Denis Villeneuve, he has this great visual language that he does. Like you can see it in all his movies, and it's just he has perfected it. It is so well done. And even though I feel like this movie could have been like 2 times longer, and I probably still would have, he has done a good job with the constraints that he has given. So there you go. That's my review. I'm not going to spoil anything other than that.
All right. All right. Well, let's go to the spoiler himself. Just a warning.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Y'all.
Let's go ahead to Jaren.
All right,
Jaren, what did you think of?
Oh, I thought you were introducing yourself. All right. First and foremost, very diverse cast. Although I do have to say, I disagree. I was not a believer in Charlemagne. I haven't really ever seen him in anything that I think I enjoyed him in, or at least was memorable that I could remember. But I'm on board with Charlemagne. I thought he was I thought the acting from him. I mean, he had an entire amazing cast around him, and they all fucking delivered, in my opinion. But I thought he carried it well. The directing. Let's have a conversation, man. This world felt lived in. It felt old. It felt ancient. It felt like it was a gross factory that had been strip mined and ripped out with all their people real fast. Like it all felt like that. Things broke. Things didn't work right. That the airlift thing that couldn't clasp right because it's a piece of shit and it's old, and they had to watch their spice digger get eaten by the sandworm. Phenomenal. The director has such an amazing eye for scale. He framed some of these shots so incredibly well. So you got this beautiful idea of how people stood like human height next to some of these massive ships that they were landing in with and stuff like that. I fucking loved that about it. Obviously they it's weird because in the first movie, the original planet they were on, where they came from, it was just some stock footage of like LA Pier, but but here it was like
the OC.
Yeah. But in this one it was Ireland, so it was I'm all about it.
That's Ireland. I know that. That's
I was like,
Canada's the best place in the world.
Straight up put some more in that mother. No, I mean I actually don't know if it's Ireland. It fucking looked like Ireland. It could have been Scotland, to be fair. But the houses, I thought they did a really good job, because I had known the story, but it's been a long time since I watched it. So this is more of a refresher for me. So maybe that helped me, but I thought that they dripped like the necessary story in where they into conversation better. In the first one, they had a lot of inner monologue. Yeah. Like a lot of voiceover.
We're going to talk to you about 25 minutes of this movie about what's going on real quick.
Let's
all sit down.
Yeah. Just stare into the middle distance as I get slower and slowly closer to you with my camera for 10 minutes. Yeah, no, that didn't happen in this. I thought they weaved a very complex, very dense story. I thought they did a good job of kind of dripping it into dialogue that kind of carry along. My only issue with this movie is that the director set out to write one movie, The Hero's Journey, and he agreed right at the rip to split it in half, and he didn't make a 3-act distinction for both movies. He said, first act. We're gonna start the second act. We're gonna get to a point, and then fuck you. We'll see you next
movie
year.
is over.
We'll see you next year. You're gonna get the second half of the second act, and then the third act. There's no complete movie here. It is definitely a poke in the fucking eye if you want a complete story.
You feel that way? Okay, I feel differently, but on my turn, I'll talk about that.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Movie's over right here.
Yeah, but I'll talk about my turn.
I felt the ramp up, like that whole fight happened. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. Let's see what happens. Oh, next time. Okay. All right. To be continued. Got it. All right, cool. So yeah,
I would say like a lot of stuff in the trailer, like especially the first trailer, doesn't really happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude never has blue eyes in this.
yeah.
He does have blue eyes in his flash forward. So
in his dreams, yeah. But things that the trailer makes you think is a part of the movie are not
like
a part
like
of
Zendaya at all.
Yeah, like Zendaya.
Oh, well.
Heavily featured in the trailers. Not
the less the better. I'm fine with that.
Fuck you, Jason.
Whoa, yeah, boo.
She's come on, man. We'll have a separate discussion about her one day.
Zendaya, Michael B. Jordan. Is there any black actors you like that's up and coming?
Denzel, The Rock.
Oh my God,
Will
Denzel.
Smith, John Bodega. I mean, I can go through a list. I have a lot of them. It's just y'all like the anyway. We'll have that discussion another day for another show.
And those people are on my list too.
Maybe a pre-show conversation about anyway.
Plus Zendaya, plus Michael B. Jordan.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm just joking with. I'm just jostling you, Jason. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. I was letting Jared finish. Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, that was it. That yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Jason, tell us.
Okay. No, I mean we
I'm about to shit on this thing. Come on, Jason.
Nah, man. Dune done did it. Did it again. Did the damn thing. Dune done did it. Damn. All that. All the D's got to work in this sentence now. But no, this is probably the most beautiful sci-fi movie I've probably ever seen. That, like, from beginning to end, it's amazing. And as we were talking in the pre-show before we started recording, like I told Jason, he knows this book is boring as fuck. Like, I've read 3/4 of Dune. I didn't finish Dune because it's so boring to me that I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna put this, journal-sized book off in the corner. But he knows that the first part is not really the most exciting thing to behold and see. So the fact that he could capture you with the visuals and hold you there for all through the part that's a slog to get to where it ramps up is a very impressive feat. I was attuned to the TV the whole time because it felt like every single shot meant something. It felt like every single scene was a build to something. Even if it didn't, the fact that how it was shot and how it was presented to you, you felt like you were seeing something important, which I will say on the negative side, once you start getting to the end, it gets exhausting because you're like, hold on, is this supposed to be? Hold on, is it like you're just trying to take in everything because you don't want to miss anything? But the point is that he knows what this book was, and a lot of people don't think this book could have ever been adapted to a movie. So the fact that he's able to capture attention with the visuals and some of the sound, and let's just be real, the actors that are in here that are taking the lead for this first one are all very charismatic. I mean, we talked about Jason Momoa, we talk about Oscar Isaac, but we didn't talk about probably the most, I feel, charismatic and most, I guess, the most appealing person on here. I mean, Rebecca Ferguson's amazing in this. Yeah. She is freaking amazing in this. And if you really keep it real, she is what ties this whole story together because of her position with the father to the son. I love the fact that this is one of the first movies I got to see.
Yeah,
right. It was one of the first movies that I felt like that we didn't have to do the strong kingly father disapproves of the weenie son, and you got to earn like this was a loving family. Like you felt like they were a unit and that they actually loved each other. And
I want to be the Atreides.
Right. They wanted his son to exceed. He wanted his son to eventually take over and all this great stuff. I thought that was beautiful. The anguish on Rebecca Ferguson, the mother, when she had to send him in with the shorty to see if he had powers, and she knows what this test is going to be like, and she's anguished because like her son could die, and it's just Rebecca Ferguson. Shout out to her, like
that whole sequence too, where they didn't have to spell it out for you, but to tell you how important that sect was to her. When you had Oscar Isaac point blank ask her when it came to mind, he was like, "I need to know you will protect our son."
Right.
And she's like, with my life. He's like, I need to hear you say it. That's how impactful, that's how powerful that whole sect is. And you got that communicated with just the worry on his face and that line delivered. And that's all you needed to know about their influence and how powerful they were and what the acolytes were willing to do to, I was like, that's awesome. Really well.
And so shout out to Rebecca Ferguson for this one. But going into the movie, this movie makes you want to drop IMAX money. And that's rare for me because I ain't trying to watch some shit on no IMAX. Even when Christopher Nolan comes out with some stuff and I'm like, oh, some of the scenes are filmed, I'll be like, nah, I'm good. And that brings me to my main point of this. I'm going to call him Dennis the Menace. My man, he hasn't made a bad movie that I've seen. From Blade Runner to this, from Escape to Prisoner, I haven't seen a bad movie from him. And a lot of people have compared him to Nolan in the fact of how they set shots and how they do things. But he has one key thing that makes him so much doper than Nolan. Nolan gets caught up in the core premise of what his idea is in his movies, and you never care about the characters. You care too much about what the idea is. Look at Inception. Look at Tenet. Like, you get so caught up in what the idea of what the movie is that the characters don't mean as much. He is all about the characters. I mean, Blade Runner, you remove for Harrison Ford from majority of the movie and put a new character in place, and you fall in love with. It's just he builds these worlds and he builds these characters to a point that you're interested in what their evolution is. You're interested in what their plight is. You're interested in their story. Even the exterior characters, it feels so lived in that you wonder what led them to this point. The greatest thing I always think about is in the beginning of Blade Runner when he comes to Batista's home and that whole exchange. Like, I want to know Batista's life. And in that same moment when he snuffed out, I actually felt bad, but because I feel like he lived a life that was worth living, that was worth seeing. So,
and he was
the fact
able to do that in one scene.
Exactly. And so the fact that he's able to build these characters like that. Now, I remember my first thing was I hated the main lead. I was like, oh, this dude's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But then as the movie continued, you started to see his confidence build. You started to see his command build. You started to see that he is almost to the point that he's trying to live in those shoes and live up to the image he's supposed to be. So I thought that was good development. I think Homeboy does have the acting chops to pull off what is supposed to come in the second half if they are granted to do the second part of it. Because near the end, I started seeing that he was coming from that boy to a man situation. Like, the whole duel, the fight, and all that. And shout out to Javier, because Javier is dope in everything, bro.
Yeah,
he's dope in everything.
He steals the scene when he walks in there and
does the spit, and they're like, "What?" It's just so good. Just so good.
Oh God. Yeah.
So the only real negative that I have in there is don't do my man Aquaman like that, man. He was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, he was always going to die.
Oh, I know.
Spoiler alert!
I know.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! He gets cloned. Spoiler alert!
But like, don't do my man like that. I was all for that, man. That was my dude. That's like my biggest. And now going to your point of where it shuts off, like, I think it's the proper place to stop, and I think it does do a complete movie because we have to keep in mind, you two knowing the whole scope of it, but for the movie's sake, the problem with the ending is because if they would have pulled, the villains weren't fleshed out enough to understand that where it ended at, the villains had succeeded and won. The movie is that. The first part of this movie is the villains have a plan, they execute their plan, they won. End of the movie. But because we're used to the hero winning at the end, and it stops, we're like, oh, this sucks because we didn't see what we thought was the hero's journey. If you look at it from the perspective of the villains won and the movie ends there. So now, if you want to go, quote unquote, the Empire has to strike back. Part 2 is going to be him starting to build himself to be able to fight this threat because he's lost everything. He's lost technically everything. He's lost the kingdom. He's lost all of his hair, and all this stuff like that. So the movie ended, I hate to say, in a perspective of, yes, the whole movie was about setting up the world, which we know, but also the second part of the movie was who's going to win between this setup from the villain versus our heroes. Well, the villain won. And I think it just feels something abrupt stop because we're not used to the fucking villain winning. And I think they just gave us that fight scene at the end just to be like, hey, you waited this long. Let's give you something cool at the end. And that's the only reason really is, I mean, it's there to build other stuff. But the only reason it's really placed like that is to be like, hey, we'll give you something to leave out of here for so you won't be completely pissed off. And then homeboy riding the sandworm is pretty dope too to end on too as well. But that's why I said I felt like the ending wasn't, oh, well, we're not going to finish anything. Well, because they finished what the movie, what it was about. Like one party was like, I want to destroy those fuckers. The other party was like, no, we just want to make a living. Well, the party you want to destroy won. game over. So that's why I didn't have a problem where it ended. But also, I likened it to, and I hate likening it to the Lord of the Rings thing, but the movies itself, where Fellowship ends with a spot where I think it's like the accomplishment had been done. The Fellowship had been brought together. The Fellowship had dispersed. That's the end of the movie. Well, for this one, the bad guys won. End of the movie. And so hopefully this part 2, and then we get to see more of this journey, and then that we can actually feel like we have some resolution or some get back for the good guys. So that's why I didn't have an issue where it landed. But I've heard more people say they felt like he just ended abruptly. But I was like, there's nothing more left to do unless you want to watch a Rocky training montage and then him build an army. And then, like I'm saying, like you get what I'm saying, like the next steps of
30
this
minutes
process,
to a 3-hour movie.
right. The next steps of these processes is him trying to build the get back, which should be a whole movie in itself, so we can get the complexity of this new area, of these new people, of like again this world building we just got in the first part. We have to do this kind of all over again with this new group of people while progressing our heroes. So, yeah, that's my review. Again, I liked it. I loved it, man. I thought it was good.
I mean, and to Jason, to your point, now that I'm thinking about it, you can also say that the movie ends when his innocence ends.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole entire time he's kind of like trying to fight his sort of like growing up. He's kind of like, I don't know if I want to be the leader of your whole entire house. I don't know if I want to, you know, fight the good fight against the Harkonnens or whatever like that. And, you know, and there's a lovely scene where Oscar Isaac, it's in the fucking trailer, but I still loved it in the movie, where he's like, you're only got to be as my kid. That's all I ever wanted to be.
Yeah.
But
right.
when he ends up, you know, after, you know, his home is taken away from him, you know, his family is taken away from him, all his things are taken away from him.
Yeah.
He has to grow up. And in that moment, he has to end his childhood by fighting a grown-ass man and killing him.
All right. Jaron, last words on Dune, your thoughts, last words, and we'll give our rating and wrap this up.
Yeah, it's interesting. You threw it up against Nolan. I kept comparing him to another director too, but it was Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott does a lot of those. And I just think that our boy here just does a lot of what Ridley Scott does, but with infinitely more interesting characters, especially when we talk about like Prometheus.
Facts.
Not like some not his older stuff, because Alien was dope, but I'm just saying, compared to like Prometheus. But yeah,
let's go ahead into our ratings. Jason, what do you give Dune?
A 1. This movie's no. I would have to say,
I almost fell over. I was like, what?
We don't get a lot of stuff like this that isn't a Star Wars or Star Trek movie. So 4.5, my friends.
All right, it's big.
Jaron, what do you give it?
I watched this on HBO Max. I'm gonna go see it in the theater before it's taken out of rotation at the theater, because this movie deserves a theater. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Hooray, me and Jaron agree on something. High five.
Well, that makes all three of us, man. I will give it a 4.5, man. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5, one reason I'm not giving it a 5 is because, again, like, yeah, I don't mind looking at Zendaya. So
I think it's like the first time we've ever like 100% agreed on a score. Yeah. This is like a momentous occasion.
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah.
This makes some boring content. Fuck y'all. I'm gonna give it a 4.2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you thought about Dune, because you guys have been letting us know about what you think about our other opinions in the comment section. We love hearing your comments, and like we always said, we will read your comments out loud. And if you ever want to come on the show and debate us about how you feel about it, you are more than welcome to sit here, and we have an extra part of the screen around there that could just be
we can
your
fit
square.
4 boxes.
Yeah.
Or we can hire Jaron
4.
2 more boxes.
Yes, if you're white, we are accepting application. I mean, I can't say that on here. We'll talk later.
We'll cover up the clip art with your face. It'll be awesome.